No, it's wet.
Had Dawn.
Yeah, I know, it's
Get started.
Yeah, I know, I watched it.
Dawn and Dawn.
Good evening, Holliston, and welcome to the April 25th, 2024 meeting of the Holliston School Committee. We have a few things on the agenda tonight, but first I will entertain a motion. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent
Doesn't do
agenda.
that camera. With that camera.
Moved by Amanda, second by Dawn.
All in favor?
Rotate that.
Perfect, thank you. And we have no grants or gifts, so we'll move right on to the report of our student representatives.
Sure. So first, we'd like to highlight a few past events from I believe, the week or two before break, and then coming back from break. So we had a successful GSA dance, so that's the Gender and Sexuality Alliance dance, on April 5th. There was a very successful cabaret through the Performing Arts Department on the 9th. The freshman and sophomore classes had the Think Fast interactive presentation on the 10th of April, and then the juniors and seniors had the same presentation this past Monday, and that presentation is regarding substance use, and students were very engaged, and it was really well done, and so I am very happy that was brought to Holliston High. And then the Performing Arts Department also went on a field trip. They had a tour of the Wing in Boston, and then they watched a performance of the Stephen Sondheim Musical Company, and that was the 11th. And then lastly, many students took the seal of biliteracy, and they did testing for that on the week of 4/8. And this is the second year that students are doing this testing, and it is to get the seal of biliteracy on their diploma upon graduation. So that's super exciting.
Sure. And coming up, for DECA Club, we have the ICDC Nationals coming up. So we will have 3 teams competing and 4 leaders, which would be 10 students total. And DECA is a business club run by Miss Lang, our business teacher, and has seen a lot of success in the past few years, and we wish all those competing good luck. Additionally, AP tests will start coming May 6th, and we will have a spring play called Radium Girls next week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And they've been working very hard, and we can't wait to see them.
And then there was just an outdoor track meet against Norwood where the boys and girls both won, and the girls' score was 97-35. So that was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was very impressive.
Wow, very impressive.
And then there are many senior events coming up as we're approaching the end of the year. And then on May 4th, there is a Best Buddies Friendship Walk, and tomorrow there's going to be a Best Buddies Friendship Dance in Hopkinton, and also there's going to be a Special Olympics event tomorrow. So we wish the Special Olympics team good luck. And that's all we have today.
Great, thank you very much.
Can I ask a question about what you guys thought of the Think? You mentioned Think Fast.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit of did you guys go to it? Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with it?
Of course, yeah. I'm happy to talk. So I actually interned with Zoe, who runs Holliston Drug and Alcohol Awareness Coalition, and she had mentioned to me a while back that when she was in high school, she had this presentation at her school, and it went over like really well with students, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. And just to kind of give an idea, it was the students would go in and grab these almost little like clickers, and it was a bunch of different, it was kind of like Jeopardy game show style, and so you answered questions, and it was related to substances and substance use, but then also there was like pop culture kind of fun music and other type trivia questions involved. There was a dance battle, there was an acting battle, and it was very high energy, and there was like fun, there was projectors, this whole kind of stage setup, and I think, definitely with high schoolers, it can be challenging to get that, buy-in, but I saw, even with the juniors and seniors during DSB, a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I think I feel like even, if one person can get something out of it, great, but I think way more than one person, a large number, were invested in paying attention and had fun.
I'm glad to hear that it was so engaging. So definitely something we should continue in the next year. It's offered,
I would think so.
Yeah, it looked very engaging when I stepped into it, but I didn't know, did you feel like the students gained value from the content too? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Great, thanks. So moving on to school committee individual comment. We'll start with Minnie.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I used my one to ask a question.
Amanda?
I'm all set.
Okay.
What's next?
So the only thing I have is I heard something I just wanted to clarify. At least my vote last time or a couple times ago, we voted on 25, 26 eighth grade algebra, and I think that I personally we were not talking about algebra 1 for all. I don't know if anyone else viewed it that way, but I just had heard some concern from parents and teachers, and I think that would have been pretty quick to do an algebra 1 for all. So just
You're clarifying not for the 25, 26 year, what?
when we voted to bring back into the Algebra 1 course offering, it was to have a course offering, not Algebra 1 for all.
Opportunity.
An opportunity.
The opportunity is available for all to do it, but that doesn't mean that everyone will be doing
is
it.
going to be required.
We're not going to Cambridge model, which is.
No.
Yeah.
We're not requiring Algebra 1 for all
No,
eighth graders.
no.
We're offering a full Algebra 1.
Yes, we wanted to have an
available to all.
offering, an opportunity.
Okay, right.
Yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I thought we were voting on.
Yeah, as an advanced math option.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple parents and some other babies, were like, wait.
So
Yeah, it's like, oh.
I think, I don't know about you, but Joni and I thought we were hearing it as that we wanted Algebra 1 for all students if they could do it, and then we might have a group that maybe couldn't do it. There might be a
Right,
small.
so it's an
that-
opportunity
correct.
for kids.
But the majority.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure, because I was saying the majority, I don't want to speak differently, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we specified, I just said that I think the vote was just that we would offer
Yes, that
it
it
and
would
then
be
leave the
offered.
details up to the
Like,
committee.
if I understand it clearly, it is like if there are 20 kids, if 2 want to have Algebra 1 and rest have to want to have CB1, they're fine. It's fine, correct?
Well, it wouldn't be, this is in 8th grade.
It's 8th grade, we don't even have
Eighth
And
grade.
two
CBA.
kids, you probably need more than 2 kids for a class.
I'm just saying, like, we would be offering the Algebra.
Correct. It
That's
would basically be the honors class, like we
Right.
used to do in the
Yes.
before COVID.
Yeah.
Before times.
Before tests.
Yeah, so I apologize, that's not, so I may have been misinforming people as well. I was hearing that you wanted it to be an opportunity for all students, to be available for all students, but that some students may not be able to do and might have, so I may have impacted some of that.
Yeah, it's not a requirement, I guess.
Right.
It's going to impact our discussions all next year as we try to plan, so it's good to know what you're thinking, so you want to make that part of our presentation when we come back about how we're going to get there for the following year.
Sure, yeah.
I think we'd have to do a lot more scaffolding to be at a position where all students would be required to take algebra.
Isn't Cambridge like in 5-6 years? There's
Something like
some really long one.
Yeah, the
To
only
get there,
district
and I
that
don't think
does
that would be unreasonable to do in a one-year plan.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, and I think that's what our think. So our thinking was that our hope is that as many students as possible will get to Algebra 1 in year 1. They'd be doing a modified version. So we would be proposing a staggered approach.
Right, that makes sense.
But I think we have to get through some of the other pieces too.
Okay. Yeah.
But how many years until it's actually Algebra 1? So a staggered approach to me means like right now they're doing half of Algebra 1 and then the other half they do it as freshman year, right? So a staggered approach means do we continue at 50%, 60%, 70%? And if so, how long until we're actually offering all of Algebra 1?
No, because the vote was that we would offer 100%
100%.
during
Run
That was my
Yeah.
during that year.
Correct. That is what the teachers
Yes.
understand as well. However, if some kids have not been exposed in 6th and 7th,
Correct.
they're not going to be able to cover as much as what is going to happen. So we're going to have to prioritize.
Well, and that's why the other
Pacing.
part that I guess we didn't
That's what we were
technically.
talking about, the staggering.
The other part that we didn't, I don't think, actually technically vote on was to simply see if the math curriculum review team could come, or anyone could come up with a way of accelerating some of the
Correct.
standards. So pulling forward
In
7th
grade
grade standards into 6th, starting this or next year, so that
Right.
there'd be more.
Would be.
And I thought that's what you wanted Joni and I to present on before the end of the year, is sort of a pacing and how we're going
Yes.
to work with teachers
Yeah.
to get there.
Yes.
Okay.
We are, Mr. Officer, Chairman, on May 1st, that is part of the PD.
Okay.
That we are looking at standards and how standards can be moved around.
Great.
In order to make that happen. So.
And if we think we're prioritizing for those first year of algebra kids, is there also going to be a corresponding conversation with the high school teachers as they come in? So, like, I know we were able, in recovery mode out of the COVID hybrid year, geometry, for example, added a term and covered some algebra. I mean, I guess I would imagine there's going to be a conversation with high school.
That's exactly what we want to have happen. So we talked about, I met with the middle school math teachers the other day to have this conversation, and then we want to include the high school teachers as well as we start
For
planning
what they
that
might
out.
be missing.
And the high school will be present at that May 1st.
May 1st, right, they're all doing that on May 1st, yeah.
Okay, great. I didn't mean to have that much conversation, but it's always good to make sure that we're all on the same page. We do not have any official presentations tonight, though we do have some sort of mini presentations as we go forward with some of the other agenda items. Policy, we have nothing on the agenda, so we're good. So we will move forward with our central office admin updates.
There's a lot going on, but after coming back from vacation, people are getting reacclimated. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that I did this week that obviously are kind of the fun part of my day that I don't get too much of. But yesterday I did have a round table at Miller School, and then I had another one at Rams, and I have to tell you, these kids are awesome. I hope more high schoolers will come to my next round table. I think just the conflicts in schedules, but I'll get a communication out soon because they've been pulled in so many directions. But at the Miller School, the kids were talking about literacy and how they feel the literacy instruction is going and sharing a lot of feedback, and I feel like they're getting more comfortable and feeling like they're in a safer environment to speak openly, which is wonderful. And then at Rams, I've had some of the same children for, I don't know, maybe this might be my third year with them, I'm not sure. So we're familiar, and they were also very open about talking about some of the things that they think are going well at Rams, things that they'd like to improve upon. We talked about how they get their voices heard, and one thing it brought me to the high school model with advisory and teachers working with some of the students and having a platform, and I'd like to see if we could come up with a platform for students at the middle school to have a similar model where and they talked about this, that maybe they would have an advisor where they could then share some of things that they wanted to work on as a school and have a voice to get those things moving forward. And I think so that's something I'm going to work on with them in the next upcoming months.
Great. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Dr. Renard.
We have our last professional development day on May 1st, so I will make sure to tell you what happened at our meeting the following day. And that's it.
Perfect. Mr. Boudet.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
So the focus of this professional development is the math curriculum and something else?
It will be, I am still awaiting some of the agendas, so I don't know all of them yet.
Okay.
I'll be sending it out hopefully tomorrow to all staff. But there is a lot of sharing of, like world language is going to get together, math is getting together at all levels. So there are a lot of meetings at all levels, and nurses are getting together on their own. Paras are having training.
Okay.
I'll get you more details though in a second.
Okay. Everyone good? All right. Now, Mr. Boudet.
All right, just so I can point you where to look. What's contained in your packet and also in paper in old school a little bit is some information about enrollment. It's kind of a preview of where we are enrollment-wise right now. The reason we felt it was important to do this is just because there's a significant issue or situation with our kindergarten enrollment, which is, I've been here for a few years, as many of you know, and currently our enrollment's right now at 119 students, which, if you can scroll down a little bit, Dr. Costa. Thank you. Oh, which one? Okay, thank you. We're looking at, the last 6 years or so of history, or 7 years of history, 173, 94. Now, while it's lower than it has been when we had our old, again, when I first started here, we were around 250 per grade. That very quickly went down to about 225, 210, and now, we've been looking in the high 100s, but this is 119. And
At the same time of those last years, or that's the total?
This is the
enrollment?
October 1st
Okay, well,
report.
we still got a little.
So what I did was, for this piece, I took out the school choice number, so that's actually the actual Holliston enrollment, so I'm comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
Not time frame wise, but
Yeah.
again, if you go up just a hair, you'll see that these 15 kids, these 15 students, or potential students, they're on the census but haven't registered yet.
Okay.
What can happen there is they've moved away and we just can't, we haven't been able to prove that yet. They may not have told us yet they're coming or not coming.
You could choose to stay home.
Beginning of last week, that number was at 20, or the end of the week before, I should say, that number was at 20. A number of 2 students enrolled and 3 others said they're not coming. So that's the sort of typical pace we get from that. But so if we picked up every one of those students, plus move-ins over the summer, I mean, with every one of those students, we get to 134. Move-ins over the summer, the number's been as low as 7 or 8, I think, at one point, as high as 40, but it's not 40 anymore since we've been tracking them down much tighter, so we haven't had a big number in a long time. So could this number, not this number, could this number go up by maybe 20? I have 18 right now as my projection. So, so this is kind of where we're sitting right now.
And just for anyone at home, so 2020 and 2021, would you say it's sort of safer to sort of average those almost, if you will? Because there were some parents that probably kept their kids a year if they were close just due to COVID and things like that.
I didn't think we had a lot of kids that were older for that year, though. I think we had a really big cohort, and I didn't think that it was as much of an age issue.
I don't think it was an age issue either. And if you hold back for a year, you may be going to first grade.
We don't always automatically.
You're not coming here. And truthfully, the reason that most parents choose not to come here in their kindergarten year is because they want a fuller, longer day program. And not that a full day isn't enough, but since kindergarten is not mandatory, they want to put their child in a place of 7 in the morning till 6 at night. And if that's the case, while they could do extended day, they may want to keep them in one facility, through that time. That may have been their daycare facility, so they know the people there. There's a lot of reasons why they choose not to come.
If you recall, that's the year that I did the proposal to get them funding and started with ARPA to get full-day K in, and that's the number we had. That actually helped us financially with the town because the Chapter 70 funds came in at a $600,000 increase because we had that high number. So that was a good year to have that high number.
Sure.
And what we're doing now, so that's when at that time, we did have to add more kindergarten teachers, and then now they've gone up. We've had to move the teachers for that reason. That same bubble will go over to Miller this coming year, so we'll be shifting teachers as a result. But we do this every year anyhow. We look at where the needs are, and we shift related to that. So that's an unusual bubble for us, but this is also much lower than we're seeing at this time of the year, with the hope that it's still a little early. We'll come back to you again and have this conversation and see where we are in maybe a few weeks.
Right, well, this is not, we're not done with this yet. So if you scroll down a little further, please. Okay, so, let's go that one. You can look at your page too. So basically, this is the way that I always look at enrollments, which is our current enrollments by program and grade, which gives us our sections, our average class size, the ranges, and then my projections. And my projections are rolling the children forward and adding a 5-year attrition rate factor of either new kids coming in or students leaving. It just, again, use a 5-year thing because you go back too far. It gets weird especially because it's a full-day K piece, but it also gets weird with high school. High school has had some big fluctuations. This 5-year period is actually fairly steady. The 2 ones that are in whatever color that is that I chose, that's just showing that we have a 2nd grade teacher. We went from 8 to 7 and then 6 to 7 based on that bubble that Dr. Custer was talking about. So again, you'll see if you just look through your sheet, we don't have to see it all up here, but you look through your sheet, you'll see where the enrollments are with regards to the entire, all the grades.
And I also do want to say at Miller, when we add this additional 3rd grade teacher, or shift a 3rd grade position over, we're maxed out for space at Miller School right now.
We have 30 general ed classrooms in the building. We'll be using 30 general ed classrooms
For next year.
for Miller, so we don't have space to add another section. So if we add another section, that teacher, a Miller teacher, would be located in a different building. So if you scroll down a little further, down to this side here, you'll see I do the enrollment by grade over the last 2 years, so you can just see the fluctuation. Again, that's not the 119 number, that's with my projection of additional bodies in it. So, okay? Moving on.
And just,
Oh, sorry.
no, I mean,
Not
just
yet.
so, what are we seeing statewide? I mean, I know that there's some, I mean, this is a pretty significant,
Yes, it is. What we're seeing statewide is many, and I mean many, I won't say most, but I'll certainly say many districts are seeing reductions and in some cases severe reductions. The inner city or this more urban, there we go. The more urban schools are not seeing that currently from reports out to the business administrators. It's a suburban thing, and there was an article in the Globe, was it maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, talking about the number of working age adults
Yep.
leaving Massachusetts. Working age adults have school-age children.
Correct.
And so this is that piece that, this is the follow-on to that people are, adults are leaving Massachusetts as well.
Yeah, right. The housing, the housing prices we know in all of our suburbs are increasing, and there's not a lot of stuff on the market
And
as well.
people having less children, they're not having, one or two kids, they're not having 6 kids now.
And the birth, and again,
Many people are not.
I know people don't like it when I say this, but I do track birth rates.
Yes.
Not personally, but
No, I know.
report-wise. And so, you're hanging there, Dan. But again, the birth rate year over year was actually down 16 this year, so that is a component of it as well.
Yeah.
and some of this also just, I mean, it's got to be a Holliston specific thing to some degree, right? Is it we're not turning over housing stock?
We're not turning over
That's
housing
what I've
stock.
heard too, yeah.
We don't have new builds going up. We've talked about, Dan's talked about the fact that new growth is not going to be high this year. They've talked about how there's no more raw land to be, building on. So there's a lot of reasons why this is kind of a little bit of a spiral right now. And the question for us going forward will be, what is the kind of new norm for our grade size?
Right.
Historically, we've had peaks and valleys. If you looked, I have enrollment data going back to the mid-90s, but you'll see peaks and valleys where some grades we've had as high as like 280, 290, and this is our new low. But, again, you have a wide variation. It's just that at this point in time, with empty nesters not leaving, with housing
Where
stock.
else are they going to go? There's no affordable senior housing for them to go into here.
Just 'cause you're
Those
empty
65-plus
nesters doesn't mean you're a
communities
senior
are
housing
more
person.
expensive than the houses they own right now.
No, exactly. I
So
mean,
like,
the offerings
how are they supposed to have turnover of single-family homes for
Don't we? They
families?
have to not stay in
Sorry, I'm
houses.
just
So
grandstanding.
we don't have the ability to get census beyond the kindergarten, right? We have preschool census.
We do have preschool census.
Well, it's
How
not
does,
you.
so how does the
You
2026
still have
kindergarten
kids that are
go
young.
look?
Have not
Come home
looked
from
extensively
college?
at that. The census for that, and way back when we were talking about possibly having to expand, it's got to be about 10 years ago, about
Even if they
expanding
wanted
pre-K, the data was very unreliable with regards to the children who were coming here. So, because again, it's outside of having mandatory pre-K, it's that data just did not, there were so many kids that were missing. Parents just don't report their kids all the time, or don't report. So, remember, it's a year-old census, it's not census from yesterday, so.
Yeah.
So if we go down a little further. Oh, sorry, we're doing that, sorry, go back up. Sorry, so school choice interest, in order to try to combat this a little bit, we extended the deadline for school choice from the 15th of April to the 30th of April, advertised it, just trying to see what we could get. It did create a couple of more bodies, not a ton, but what we have right now, so if you scroll up like a quarter of a page. Up. You're very up. You're up is my down.
Down. You want me to go down?
Yep. Oh. Go up.
It's Abbott Costello right now.
Tell me
Who's
where
on
you
first?
want me.
That's good. So right now, if you look, for our 3 kindergarten programs, we have those numbers. We actually have a family that moved here from France, or is possibly moving here from France, who's applied. So we would have the child tested, but there is a French immersion program in first grade, and we do have space. So that could likely happen. Second, fourth, fifth, sixth. Again, sixth is one of our high ones, not as high as normally, but 9th, 16. And with the high school, so a total of 72 seats, which is actually more than the last couple of years.
There's a lot of interest to coming to Holliston,
Especially at the high school level.
especially at the high school level.
The high school's a little richer in bodies than normal.
They must have heard we're looking at the schedule.
Do you want the new page?
So you go down to the next one. So this one, yes. So what I basically did here was just quickly put the enrollment if I added every school choice child, what the new enrollment would be, and then just could put a class size down. When I normally do my school choice presentation to you, I will show you how that school choice actually reduces class size, because, again, we get all these students. If I took them all out, I'm going to lose X number of teaching staff, which raises class size. So the way we manage school choice is an effective way to actually reduce class size, even though it does not always seem intuitively that way. So, but that's a presentation for either, probably not, maybe next week, who knows?
And even though the ninth grade has school choice interest of 16, that really only brings it to 218, which is historically pretty low.
It's not a huge class for high school, correct. I mean, our high school class is,
They hover around 200.
it's been in the 2 to 220 range.
Yeah.
So it's not pushing us out of bounds in any way, shape, or form, correct. And again, Jessica, I will say this in another week or so, the high school has the lowest rate of acceptances with regards to, we open up 20 seats, 10 kids are going to come.
Right.
You know, kindergarten has the highest rate.
Yeah.
You know, parents sometimes use school
They're
choice as a
shopping around
weapon.
a little bit, yeah.
You know, they get their kids to do certain things. It just happens, so. But- Any other questions? I took them in real time, but.
Well, that's
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, that's a lot to chew on. Moving on to, that was it for you, Mr. Boudet?
I'm done.
On May 2nd, could we get an updated sort of budget?
Yeah, I was trying to do it for this meeting. This was a kind of a crazy week, to say the least, so.
Yeah, there's been a few things going on. Okay, thanks. No personnel, so we're moving on to reports of subcommittees, communications,
We do not have a report. We have not met.
policy.
I don't think I scheduled a meeting last time we met. We'll have a meeting again next month. We met, we have a bunch of things. We went through a bunch of policies last time, so
Okay.
we'll have some more forthcoming.
Budget?
We had a meeting before April vacation. We, at this point, don't have anything scheduled for next week, but by next week, we'll be able to report on our next budget.
And then superintendent eval.
So we had a meeting today. We discussed and made plans for our next steps. And then we have, the next meeting is on May 1st at 8:30, Wednesday, on Zoom. And then on Thursday as well, which is May 2nd, from 5 to 7.
Just, you're not posted yet for May 1st.
No, we are still,
I think you
getting
just
down to the
decided that
details,
today, or,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so, okay. I'm just,
Yeah.
these were running
Yeah.
out of the week.
So
Yep.
we are-
Okay. Great. So the 2023-2024, this is this school year's calendar.
Right, we had one inclement weather day, so instead of ending on the 14th, we would be ending on the 17th, which carries over to the weekend.
Which is a Monday?
Which is a Monday.
Just wanted to be clear about what day that was.
It sure is.
That was a great snow day, though.
Yeah, we will have to change that to the 17th with your vote.
Okay. Since we don't really have any discretion over this anyway, I will entertain a motion to set the new last day of school to be June 17th of 2024.
Moved.
Second.
All's in favor? Carries unanimously.
Can I ask a question? I mean, it's sort of calendar related. Graduation, I probably should ask this before. Are we doing graduation at 10 a.m.
Yes.
again?
10
Indoor,
a.m.
outdoor, what are we doing this
He
time?
elected to do it outdoor, I believe.
I think so.
Yes.
We're doing outdoor.
Yep.
It's at 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay,
And it's Sunday, June 2nd.
yeah. Oh, it's always the first June, first Sunday. Although we've had some discussion about doing it on a Friday night at some point.
I personally think
I don't mind
Thursday
Sunday
night or a
night.
Friday night, I mean, people want to have their gatherings on the weekend. Sunday's tough for families that work the next day, but I know
That's true.
Saturdays, because some of the religious organizations didn't want that either, so
Yeah.
it's no perfect time, but I don't know. I think in the future, we may want to think about a Thursday or Friday night.
Right. Well, I know we used to have it on Sunday afternoons, but it just got so unbearably
Well, I
hot. It was
moved because the heat
ridiculous.
that year was
Oh my
105
God,
degrees.
it's so hot. Yeah,
And it was
2020,
the
all the
best
way
decision
through.
I think I made
Oh,
that
yeah,
year.
it was. All right, thank you for confirming that. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so we're continuing on with our fiscal year 2025 budget discussion, as we've talked about. We are going to we do have a budget gap that we're working to close, and so as a start to that, Dr. Kuska has an update for us on an organizational change that she's proposing or making.
Sure. So I've met multiple times with Mr. Boudet and Dr. Menard and our principals and central office team, and we know we have two things going on. We just shared with you we have some enrollment shifts that are happening, and that might lead to some changes just related on enrollment. And then on top of that, we have a year where we know that we're not going to be able to make the number that the town's not going to be able to meet the number that you proposed for the budget. So we've been working and crunching as much as possible to see what we can do on our end, to see are there positions that we can shift or reduce as people retire and things like that are happening. So right now, we have a really strong plan that we're working on with the principals and Mr. Boudet, and we have identified 6 positions that we would be able to reduce that will not negatively impact student class size. So we're really trying to make sure that we're not increasing class size as a result of any shifts. But if we do make those 6 changes, what would happen is we would have approximately a $400,000 offset
Reduction,
that would allow us to then get closer to the number that we propose for our needs for next year.
Okay, but did you also have an update on the?
Yes, I was going to do that
Okay.
part first in case.
Okay.
So I can't discuss the shifts yet, but we will have
Right.
more on that later. And then part 2 of that is I've also heard lots of feedback since we implemented the curriculum coordinator roles in the past couple of years, and we've listened to what might be the best way. In a perfect world, adding more people that can do this work would be ideal, but we're not in a position to do so. So I've met again with the principals and central office, and we've really looked at what would be the best we can do given the budgetary constraints, but also not giving up on teaching and learning, and we've made some real momentum. We want to make sure that we do have work happening, that we have people that can coach teachers and help them implement some of the modeling in classrooms and help them work on units and instruction. So we want to keep the curriculum specialist roles in place, but in a different way. I also heard, especially with this new math change that we're proposing, that there's going to be a need for students to have more support, so tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. So what we're proposing is that instead of our current model, we have a K-12 curriculum coordinator for STEM, and we have one for humanities, and we have one for world languages and unified arts. I do think we should keep the K-12 curriculum coordinator for unified arts and world language in place because we need someone that can manage and support those people in all buildings. But I have proposed a change to the model. We will keep the model pretty close to it as it is with the same 3 positions at the elementary school. Currently, we have a pre-K2 literacy specialist, or is it called humanities, I believe, specialist, 3 to 5 humanities specialist, and we also have currently a pre-K5 math role that I'm looking to see what we can do more with that. But at the middle school, we have a full-time interventionist role that's really working directly with our tier 2 and 3 students. And then we also have a full-time general curriculum specialist. So thinking of all the changes to come, we're taking those 2 middle school roles and we're going to change those to, one of them is going to be a curriculum specialist that is for humanities and interventionists. So they'll work with kids part of the day, and they'll also work with teachers and go into classrooms supporting teachers with modeling instruction and teaching and learning. And similarly, we'll have the other position will become the STEM curriculum specialist interventionist role. So I feel like that's a good model, that we're still getting support for teachers in this model, but also having people that can work directly with students and more content specific than we have currently. Similarly, we want to follow that model through at the high school. Currently, they don't have people that are dedicated full-time in the building for that work. So we're going to do that same model at the high school. We're going to put together, so it would be a 9 to 12 humanities curriculum specialist / interventionist. So again, working with children, but also working with staff, and the same 9 to 12 STEM curriculum specialist interventionist. So overall, it would be a 1.0 less FTEs in the curriculum piece because we're putting in that intervention role. So it's the same amount of people, but they're more working with students than the curriculum before.
Did you you want to share the org
Let me
chart?
pull that
or-
up, yes. I forgot that I did not put that in your package. Let me find that.
I do think, did you send that to everyone or just
I did
to the
send
budget
it.
team? Okay,
Let me just pull that up.
You did, but I don't have it in this file.
Let's see. Let's see. Second, it's not. Here for a second. Okay, try again. Oh, someone's in the waiting room, Keith. I don't know who it is. Let's see.
I'll get from there.
iPhone 81.
Should, oh, okay. I have it up, but no.
So
So can you-
here's the change. I'm going to walk you through. See the blue here?
Can you, when you do that, can you clarify which ones are like, it's a 1.0 versus, and then it looks like you did it on part of it, but not all of it, so I'm not really sure.
So right now, if you look at the blue, this is what we have currently pre-K to 12 plus STEM and humanities coordinators that work district-wide, and they're pulled into 4 buildings. So we're going to take those 2 roles and slide them into the 9 to 12 STEM curriculum intervention specialists. So they're really we're taking half of that to make the curriculum piece, and then we're going to have half of that be a teaching role. And then same with the humanities, so they'll just be at the high school. And the 2 positions we currently have at the middle school that are the separate roles, 1 interventionist, 1 curriculum specialist, is sliding over that they're going to be half and half. To really
So
make
it's a
the con-
0.5.
Yes.
Okay.
And it may not be as clean as that, right? But
Okay.
they're full-time in the building to be able to fit into student schedules and teacher schedules.
Okay,
So and then you see in the pink there, that's where we're keeping that role the same, because we still need someone that can be, the current curriculum coordinator there is doing a ton of work with world languages right now and really making a lot of movement in that area, so that makes sense to keep that role as is. It's really trying to provide that alignment again and that consistency and getting that support for both students and teachers.
can you explain the arrows that are going both ways?
Yes, that's really just showing that overall we have, because now we're going to be having, right now Joni oversees people that are in 4 different buildings, right? These 3 curriculum coordinator roles. But they're going to be specific to each building, so they're going to be housed in 1 building. 2 people in the high school, 2 people in the middle school, the 3 people at the elementary school. So they will have direct oversight by principals, but they're going to have less contact overall with one another. So we still need to have that district-wide lens where Joni will still be directly supervising them along with the principals, and that's why they're going back
Okay.
and forth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
My model might not work for
I know, I'm not sure if how I would do that or chart differently, but,
I know, there are many different ways you could do it.
yeah, okay.
What do people think? I mean, I think it's an evolution that seems to make sense.
Yeah.
We probably don't have to vote on this, but we did vote on the curriculum coordinators.
That's true.
Do we? And there is a budgetary impact here. Do we want to take a vote to support this? Or
Yeah, I would
what do
agree
we
with
decide?
that.
So then
I'll make a motion to support the proposed reconstruction of the curriculum and instruction for 2024-25 school year.
Second.
Nobody wants a second?
Second.
Like you're causing confusion and delay. Let's go.
All right. All those in favor? Is that unanimous? Okay. Yep. Okay. So that's unanimous. So
Thank you.
I think it's a good way to potentially move things forward, and we'll see how that goes. I know you've got some more work to do sort of operationally behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think what I'm hoping, though, is this will help us with this transition to the changes in math as well, especially with new implementation of curriculum, to have people that are dedicated to the building that can dive in and support staff will be great.
Right. So, we're good with that?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So next up is put on here, but is no longer necessary because the select board voted last night to put a warrant article on the warrant rather than the creation of a stabilization fund. I guess there was still some concern sort of on the long-term guardrails around that. So there's still going to be a warrant article on the town meeting warrant for $750,000 to help offset our increase in special education costs. But the way it's being set up is sort of one-time in nature and not recurring, so we don't need a policy, or they don't need a policy. It was a little bit interesting that they came to the school committee to create a financial policy.
And that's why I emailed you going, we don't make town policy, they make town policy. So.
Correct. But they asked for it, I supplied it, but we don't need it now. I think that there did seem to be some openness to reconsidering in October for something for longer term. I do think it makes sense to sort of build up a fund so that we don't have to hit the general stabilization account, given that has implications with bond ratings and with just sort of overall fiscal responsibility. But I think the important thing is that they at least did support the funding. So next week, the Finance Committee will be taking that up. I'll be attending that meeting to make sure they have any questions answered, so hopefully we can get their support for it. But we don't.
Did we miss another email? Because the last email I saw was read over this draft policy. Was there another subsequent email that came out?
I was sending you guys a lot of emails.
I know.
I didn't
So
send
I'm
another
like
one today, just because I heard about it like at 9:30 last night, and then got caught up in a whole bunch of things. So no, you did not miss an email.
Okay, but they just decided that whatever that wording is, they're not going to use, or because they requested wording, but now they're saying they don't want the wording? I'm confused.
Sorry, so they decided they didn't want to create the stabilization account.
Oh, so just scrapping it entirely.
So scrapping the stabilization account entirely, and what there is a warrant article. There's a warrant article appropriation, taking money from.
I got lost.
It's taking $750 from general stabilization and essentially appropriating into a warrant article, almost like a capital article.
Got it.
That then Keith or his can charge against for.
Be like one-time supplemental funds.
Sure. Okay.
But it won't increase our budget.
Got it. Yes. I get it. Okay. So is there a thought about putting that as creating a town policy around that for the fall town meeting, using some other best practices? We're not the only town that has one of these, so I just feel like there's...
Most towns create them under a separate section that was created under the Massachusetts Municipal Modernization Act.
Yeah.
That is really, it's not really a stabilization account, it's a reserve fund, so it would be used if you had unexpected increases.
Right, so we can have a trigger,
during
like
the
this
year.
is when it would happen.
But it's during the year, so you can't really, what we need now is something that we're budgeting off of, right?
That's true.
So this is why, for us, it made sense to create a stabilization as a general special purpose stabilization account rather than so like Hopkinton has this, and that is the one under, and that requires the school committee to vote to request the money and the select board to sign off on it.
Right.
This would be a town meeting vote. The one that we've been discussing would have required a town meeting vote.
Yeah.
But now we don't need a town meeting vote. Keith or his successor can just send the bills to the accountant once it's approved by town meeting.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any more questions about that? Newsletter. So, let me just see. Kristen or Melissa, do we want to wait for Mark?
Yeah, Mark's supposed to be coming, so
Okay.
if we could just give him a few minutes.
skip.
He should be here soon.
Yep. We are running out of things,
You're
but
running ahead of schedule.
We are ahead of
I know,
we are running
shocking.
ahead of schedule.
Shockingly.
No, this is my life goal, is to run ahead of schedule, and I actually haven't announced it yet. But yes, we are well ahead of schedule. We're 27 minutes ahead of schedule.
Proud.
So proud.
Well, we can skip and go to the next one.
We are. We're going
Okay.
to, but I didn't know if they were due. Okay, we'll wait for Mark. So we'll just skip right on to the next very popular topic. So we received an email from a resident, Marty Lamb, requesting that we fly the Israeli flag for Jewish American Heritage Month, which is May. In the letter, he had specifically stated that he believed that there had been a request to fly the transgender visibility flag for Transgender Visibility Day. And so I think that it's important, there's a lot of things going on. The town has just created a new policy. There was the Shurtleff case, which is a Supreme Court case. And so I'd like to just, turn over to Dr. Custer to explain sort of how that flag came to be flown and give a little more color on that.
Sure. So since I've been here, it's been a practice that we've been flying the pride flag for the last few years, and I don't know, it predates me, Keith, I believe.
Yes.
At least a couple of years. So every June, we do have the GSA goes out and flies the flag up on the flagpole here at the high school, and typically at the other schools, they don't have a second, they don't do it on the flagpole, they put them on the building. So kind of, it's been a practice of us to support, with Safe and Supportive Schools, our pride flag process. And recently, we've had some discussion about the transgender flag and whether we should be having that on the schools as well. My understanding is we've had that inside Rams for the last, I don't know how many years. It's been something, and we've never flown them on the flagpole before. But this year, because there was interest, I met with the principals and said, is it something we want to consider? And they were very enthusiastic about having that for our students because, as you know, there's been a lot of challenges in other parts of the country with some of these populations, and really making sure that our students feel safe and supported was important to us. So we did put them up over that weekend. I think it was around right before April 1st. They just were on the outside of the building at the Placentino, Miller, and middle school, and then at the high school, I believe the GSA, like they did with the pride flag, went out and flew the flag as well. So again, I think it's a good practice for us, and it is in tune with things that we've already done in the past. But it's really kind of something that the administration and I thought this would be a good practice given the climate right now and the support for our students.
So just to clarify, though, while there may have been members of the community who were proponents of this, at the end of the day, this was a decision made by you and your administrative team to fly the flag.
Yeah, some people had mentioned to me, they asked me, do we do it? I have to really check. I haven't, I hadn't thought about it. So that's when I met with the principal, say, have you been doing this? And some of them indicated that they've already had them inside and they would like to do them outside. And then I was also hearing that some of our students were interested but didn't really want to come forward because it can be an unsafe environment to come forward sometimes. So I think our students probably would agree that high school students were supportive of that as well, correct? Yes.
So I have a question. Now, are there any specifics that we assign to flags? For example, would you say that a pride flag would be a value flag, and as opposed to, say, a religious flag or a country flag?
I don't know that I'm really the person. I mean, that's probably more of a legal question that I really don't think I
There's more to look into on that issue,
Yeah.
but I think certainly we as a committee wanted to get a better understanding. And I think some of us were aware of the, where the pride flag and other flags were originating with student interest within our community, which is a little bit different than like an outside third party. But I think it's a beginning of a discussion, and I think we're in a place where we have another meeting as soon as next week. So I think this has really just come up for most of the committee's consideration, but I think it's part of an ongoing discussion and maybe touching base with Dr. Kusko with some additional questions, and we bring it up for discussion again next week.
I mean, there are a lot of many communities are going through this. Just given the separation between the schools and the town when they set their policy carved this out, which I think was appropriate. But essentially, this short-lived Supreme Court case said that there's a difference between government speech and free speech or public speech. And so what Boston had done is basically allow everybody to fly the flag on the flagpole. And so the Supreme Court said, well, basically you made that a public speech. You made that sort of almost like a public open space. So that when they denied another group, it was then you were denying sort of free speech. I think what's important here to note is that well, there may have been people that were proponents of this. Ultimately, it was a decision made by the administration, and so ultimately, flying this flag or hanging this flag was still an act of government speech. It was the school department, making a decision to fly it. Not we weren't opening the schools
not the
up.
not the community.
Not
It wasn't
the,
to the outside
public.
community. It was,
Correct.
to the public.
And since I've been here, I've never actually had a formal request to fly anything. The only thing was the Pride flag has come up as in June because of the celebration.
And
in
that was
June.
pre-existing.
And that's
We've been
been
doing that
going
for a
on
long
time.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, what I think, I'd like, and obviously, Cynthia, you can decide whether you want to do this or not, but I think that maybe it is time to start looking at different policies and seeing if we want to adopt a policy. I think it should rely heavily on the administration, making these decisions, but I think we do want to just protect ourselves. I think that Marty's, request, while,
think it's the beginning of the conversation,
Right.
and I think maybe
Yeah.
scheduling a policy meeting, and then we can start to look at
To my
these
knowledge,
different
though,
aspects.
I don't think we've ever flown a flag from another country. There was some, that we had raised the Ukrainian flag.
So I don't believe.
I've asked around and I did not, I've not,
But we need to find out a little bit more about all of those aspects, right? So I think
I mean, I think we've had a lot of the flags inside the high school, correct?
Right.
And also at Rams, I believe there's a lot of celebrating.
And that's all just for multiculturalism,
Correct.
that we put out like the flags of, but
we
those
have
are not
not.
flown in the flag,
We have
those are just
never,
built in the building.
inside.
Right.
They're just kind of like,
Around the interior
Yeah.
there.
and I wouldn't just think flagpole, I think flying it outside of the school, because obviously the Trans Disability Day flag was not actually on the flagpole, it was on the school, just like the pride flag had been on the town
Right,
hall
on the town
building
hall.
rather than,
Yeah, right.
but it doesn't, the flagpole is, it doesn't need to be on the flagpole to sort of still fall under this.
I think we need some additional information,
Yeah.
some additional discussion.
So I think, I put on here because I've been having conversations about that we wouldn't sort of surprise the community by making any sort of decisions that we weren't going to vote on this
We
tonight.
don't have a policy around it at all.
Right, but I mean, we could still, I think, but I think that we don't want to start taking applications, if you will,
From the general public.
from the general public.
I don't think we should be doing that.
So I'll work, we may potentially need to put together some sort of memo. I don't know if Andy Watt needs to be involved, just to make it clear, sort of what our position is, and then we can look to setting a policy or something at a later date. I just think
I
that,
wonder if offering, I don't know if Marty Lamb had reached out to the town about flying it at Blair Square or something like that. That's like a place of public discourse and that.
I did not actually ask, but that, would ultimately be
I mean,
there.
to have an application for people to
Right.
request that.
I think the biggest thing is it was a
I don't know whether it would be denied or accepted. I'm just saying, like, that's a place for.
It seemed like there was a misunderstanding that we have had a policy and a practice, and we
No,
really haven't.
I think there's a disconnect between a school committee policy versus the town's policy.
Right. So I'll work to get back to him and
Okay, well, I mean, I can put it on my agenda for May, but it's not going to be until
We'll need time
whenever
to
it
work
is
it
we
over
talk
the
about it in
summer,
May.
yeah.
No, I know, and we'll have.
Well, the other thing too
to
is, we've got, we won't be, right, it won't be in time for this May, and if it's
No.
not in time for this May, then I think we take our time, we've got new members join, I mean,
Right.
it's gonna be a
Yeah.
long sort of, so.
Yes.
You can begin to think of some of the questions and
There's some examples out there that would obviously.
No, I know there are, yeah.
right, in policy.
I know, when we talked about Framingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, Framingham has the most detailed
Yeah.
policy out there. There's most of the flag policies that other schools have are very just limited to the American flag being in a classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
I
They
think
don't
that-
talk about even
They
their
don't
outside.
talk about.
Well, and then what do we need to address at the same time, flying of different flags in a classroom, I mean, I
We should
just,
start looking at various districts' policies and.
ideally,
answer
we
these
get into
questions.
as little of that as possible, but,
Right. Just so you know, MASC has no guidance on this whatsoever. So.
it's sort of, surprising.
Does that shock anybody?
It's a little, I mean, this is definitely, they certainly, I would urge them to, because it,
Yeah. I'll
There's
reach
a
out
lot
to
of-
them
a lot
too.
of
I'm just saying,
districts that
it
are-
doesn't exist, so there's a long ways to go.
tackling this, a lot of colleges tackling this issue too.
Right.
So why don't, hopefully this can be, all right. So with Mark and co here
Mark
now,
here,
we've had a request from, where's my notes? So
We have the school naming policy up too, so that
We
we
can
can
put the school
refer to
name policy
that.
up, but we've had a request from Parks and Rec to consider naming the Holliston High School baseball field in honor of Bob Nemeth. Bob recently announced that he would be leaving the department after years of, many years, I don't actually have the exact number, but many years of incredible service to the town and the schools. Just, for those that don't know, Bob has sort of worked for the schools in some ways because we pay a quarter of his salary.
Sorry.
Okay. And through a job sharing arrangement with the highway department, wants to make sure that the highway department is not the DPW department. And he's also has been on the Miller Building Committee, and as well as I think some other building committees for the schools. So in addition, he was a Parks Commissioner for a number of years, Holliston Pantry Shelf board member, and is one of the first people to be selected by Celebrate Holliston as Citizen of the Year. So he's had a lot of dedication to the town, so I think this is an appropriate request to consider. In addition, in your packet, I emailed some that came in later, but I put them all into your packet. We've received at least 14 letters of support from members of the community, including one from a former town administrator, a former select board member, the chair of the finance committee, as well as several current and former parks commissioners. We've also received a letter of support from Holliston's current athletic director, as well as other past presidents of Holliston's youth football, long-term member of youth baseball, softball, and HABA, and other parks commissioners who have been involved and have had their kids play on the varsity baseball team. We also have gotten a couple letters expressing some support for Bob, but then also some concern about past decisions by previous school committees not to name the field after a long-time coach of the varsity baseball team, Coach Krupnick. So I think that we want to start the conversation tonight. We'll look at our policy, sort of gauge what people are thinking, and then look at some options, and then kind of maybe probably continue the conversation next week, unless people have a strong view of voting on that tonight.
We're definitely meeting next week. I'm sorry, I'm getting
Yes.
off the weeds of the
Yeah.
number of different.
Right now, we're pretty much meeting weekly through the 16th. Hopefully, maybe not the 16th, but actually, the 16th and then the 23rd for the four of us that will still be here. But we'll work on keeping them as short and minimal as possible. But
Well, we have fewer meetings, but really be efficient.
you're leaving.
I know, it's time, Amanda. Time is done for you on that one.
So, you guys either want to come up here, or I don't want to kick the student representatives off, so maybe you can come. Just you need to hit up.
Yeah, we just need you in a microphone, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Come on. There's room at the table for everybody.
So thank you guys for having us here. We appreciate you hearing this on sort of short notice. I just brought it to Don initially, 10, 14 days ago. We think that the timing is right to honor Bob, just given his years of just incredibly dedicated service, specifically to facilitating sports of all different kinds in town here. Nobody put in more work both on town time and on their own time to, just make sure that people had the safest, best possible fields out here. He took so much just sort of on himself, and he's really received very little recognition. I know that you mentioned the things that the town has recognized, but for the amount of time that he has put into these different, really important aspects of the athletic community, I think that this is the least that we can do to, honor him, honor his family, some sort of a, long-term salute to just the years and countless hours that he put into, making sure that everything was the best that it could be in some pretty lean times here in Holliston. So he made a lot happen with few resources, and we as a commission, and as you saw from all those letters of support as a community, I think we certainly owe something to Bob, and I feel like this would be a fitting tribute to him. So.
And in terms of timing, I don't know how many of you have seen the new backstop project that happened with the baseball field. So it somewhat aligns with, as you said, him stepping away, and now we kind of have this great new renovate it, update it, space, and we feel like, this is an appropriate time to be putting a name on that space versus just the high school baseball field. So that's where a bit of the timing, where the stars aligned of like, all right, now's the perfect time, because we are doing a ceremony, opening, I think on May 5th for that field.
Maybe.
Somewhere
around there.
I was at the meeting last night.
The field's open, but, they're using it already, and it looks beautiful. And it was kind of a joint, it was like a parks and schools, coming together kind of project, which is, I think, really in the spirit of how Bob handled things, was kind of bringing different aspects of the town athletic community together to get things done. So we think it's a fitting way to do it.
I had written in my letter, I looked up the policy just to, make sure, because there's a lot of people that's, you can do a lot of great things in naming, but why is this fitting? And, and looking at being staff or a member of a school building committee, which he's both, working for the schools and then also being on the school building committees twice, I believe, and also the property should be named appropriate to the person it's honoring, and it's like, well, here's a field that he has spent countless hours on, and he has maintained all the fields, and when we look at the history of our field maintenance, we had the highway department, but Bob was the main person working for highway, schools, and parks, and with the new DPW, we've greatly expanded our outdoor field maintenance crew, and now we have multiple people, and we're hoping to add to that, but for countless decades, it was Bob. There were other highway people there obviously offering support, but he was it. He was the field guy. Anyone knows if they ever had a kid in youth sports, like those phone calls that came in, like, can't use the fields today, or this is happening, or you forgot to remove the, goals from the field so that we can mow. That was Bob behind the scenes, 24/7. Some people may not have liked the midnight text, but it goes to the dedication of this man has put in countless hours. And beyond the schools, he's just somebody that I feel like should be honored with his dedication to HCAT, to the food pantry. He's just everywhere all at once. Yep. So I feel like that's the type of person, that's volunteering in all aspects of the community, and there's no better way to honor him than to have his name on something.
As Ken wrote in his letter, you're at town meeting when Bob is looming over the finance committee.
Yes. With his camera.
Yeah. With his camera, yes, it's part of HCAT.
Yes, did you guys have questions? Yes.
I didn't have any questions. I know you spoke on the park side of it. Of the 14 letters we received, the food pantry letter was compelling. But I also just wanted to bring to light, the DPW and on behalf of the schools, the athletic director. So if we can, just so people kind of understand some of the letters that some of the 14 letters we've received. I'm honored to write this letter in support of naming the Holliston High School baseball field after a longtime town employee and resident, Bob Hammett. Bob has devoted over 25 years as an employee and many years before that as a volunteer. His dedication and commitment to the town, the schools, and our athletic program has been immeasurable over the years. It's not often you find someone who is willing to go above and beyond in the manner that Bob does. Whether it is prepping the baseball or softball fields for an afternoon game after a last-minute rain shower or shoveling town steps and walkways, Bob can always be counted on no matter the task. I always know how to find Bob by where his green truck is. Head to a field, look for his truck, and you will see Bob lining or painting a field, dragging an infield, or just making sure the fields are ready for our Holliston athletes, from high school down to youth. Bob is meticulous in his planning, as evidenced by the notebook in his truck with all the town field dimensions and nuances written down. He is an asset to the town and someone I've relied on almost daily during my years as athletic director at Holliston High School. Through rain, sleet, or snow, Bob is one phone call away, always ready with a plan to get our teams outside as quickly as possible. In thinking specifically about the baseball field, Bob's commitment goes beyond taking care of and prepping the field. He spent countless hours there volunteering and watching his own kids play. He takes tremendous pride in our facilities and cares about making them something the community of Holliston can be proud of. I cannot think of someone more deserving of this honor than him. Respectfully, Matt Baker, Holliston High School Athletic Director. Just one more, and I know we've received many, but From Deputy DPW Director Robert Walker, I was told that the renovation of the Holliston High School baseball field that they want to name the field after Bob Nemeth. As we all know, Bob spends a lot of time making sure all the fields in town are ready for all the different sports groups. Bob also donates a lot of his time to the Parks Department, Food Pantry, and other organizations and events in town. I've worked with Bob for the last 18 years. Not only is Bob a dedicated employee, but he's also a great friend. This town should feel lucky to have an employee like Bob. With that said, I'm very much in support of the high school baseball field being named after Bob Nemeth.
I found all of these letters just so moving about his commitment to community and that everyone wants to come together to name something after him was really moving to me. So thank you for bringing it forward.
He would hate that we're all. I want that on the permanent record.
When he watches this,
yes,
I'm in for it.
being happy, but that's just like he wants,
Right. But in a time where I feel like we've lost sense a little bit of that, I think refocusing our energy back on something like this is very inspiring to see his story.
And if we have any additional questions in next week, we can reach out to Mark, or if anybody has any follow-up on it. We do meet again next Thursday. Is that
Right.
So we do.
We do.
So we had choices. We could vote on it tonight. To be clear, if we're voting on it, we will also have to vote to waive our policy for the 6-month
Right.
waiting
We have
period.
we have to, waive just that aspect of the policy, I suppose.
Correct. We're just that aspect,
Yeah.
but we, and I think that's put in place just to make sure that the due diligence is done. But I think that
Right.
due diligence on Bob is probably not necessary. So I think that's more than appropriate. But do we think should we give the community a week to sort of?
Yeah, we're gonna meet next week.
Yeah.
Or I'm comfortable doing that so that we can make sure that we're.
Would that work for you guys if we just kind of
And if people have questions individually that you want to, if you want clarification on anything, you can reach out to me directly, certainly over the next week beforehand, too.
So yeah, I think that it makes a lot of sense, but I think also just, we don't want to spring anything on the community. I think some of these things it's good to just get out there and let percolate and then we can move
we'll be
forward.
back next week?
Yeah.
Thank you very
I do think
much.
that's
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
it.
for coming.
Yep.
So the last thing on our agenda tonight is a discussion and decision about sort of either setting up a process or making a recommendation to Dr. Kuska about setting up a committee, a search committee for Keith's replacement. I still think it's an April 1st fool's joke, but
So when you say appointing, you mean like for the hiring process? Because we haven't selected anybody yet.
correct for the hiring
This
process
for
to make
appointing, and I'm like, well,
to make a recommendation or one or multiple people to Dr. Kuska to then put forward to us.
right, because we have to have a contract with whoever the business
Correct.
manager is.
Yeah.
so.
You vote them.
Right.
Yeah.
We haven't had to do
We
this
haven't had to
for-
do that ever.
Ever.
Thanks, Keith.
Like our whole lives, it feels like.
So we need to set up.
I know you're thinking this out.
Well, so I think
Yeah.
it's better if
Dr. Custer will set up the hiring committee, but we were going to kind of get a feel for what this is going to be, make a recommendation on what we'd like to see for it. And I think
Who should be on it?
who should be on it, and
What
is there
categories?
likely some principal interest there where?
I think I have one already.
Okay.
So I had proposed, and I would put, I think it would be good to have the student services director, because as you know, with circuit breaker,
Yeah.
how often is she working with you on transportation and finances and special ed? So that's a very important role. I also think the director of technology, considering how much we do spend on technology, that's also a role that works very closely with Keith. I would like to try to get 2 principals, but given there's only 4 and there's a lot going on, we're trying to get this done quickly. At least 1, but I've reached out to them, and I think I at least have 1 interested already. I thought it would be a good idea to have the town administrator on it, just because we've had a very good collaborative working relationship, and sometimes Keith or I have sat on hiring for some of their positions, so I really think that I wouldn't have said that in every town that I've worked in, but in this town, I do think that's a really critical role to work collaboratively together, and I want to start on the right foot with the new person coming in as well. 2 school committee members would be a good idea as well. And then I know that there's a thought that maybe it would be great if Keith is willing to sit on the committee and he wouldn't be running the committee, because it can be very intimidating for someone coming in.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be a good idea to have Keith have input into the process of sitting on that committee. I normally haven't had a teacher, but I'm not opposed to that if we wanted to have one teacher on there. I mean, just because I don't know, typically the teachers aren't working that closely with this role, just because it's central office and not as visible in the building. But Keith has been here so long, so I think some of our teachers do have more visibility to his role. Normally that's probably not true in other districts I've been, but one teacher, we could see if anyone's interested. And then I thought it would be also good if we offered one seat to someone in Keith's direct department. He has 3 people that work directly in central office underneath his role, which is our payroll analyst. He's being able to tell me the titles of each role.
It's the district's bookkeeper, the HR analyst for payroll, and Kim's the office assistant.
So I would like to see if we could offer one of those 3 roles, and see if any one of them wanted to be part of that, because they work so closely with Keith as well, processing all of the payments and so forth.
I am strongly in support of having Keith be part of it if he's willing, and also someone within his staff. I do like the idea of a teacher representative on it. I know they may not work as closely with his role, but in the same sense that I think like when you're doing the superintendent search or assistant superintendent curriculum search, I think it's still an important voice to be part of it.
So that would be 10 if all
Right.
10 steps. So I think that's not an unfeasible number to work with.
What about a parent? I know that
Yeah,
when
we've
two
had
school committee
parents
members,
before.
we generally on hiring committees have.
do.
I've never had it for this role, and
No.
to be honest with you, just because they're
It's
not
more
visible to
technical
parents in the
role.
same way, but,
Yeah.
and honestly, I've hired, it was business manager in my previous district, but we had a lot of changes, and I think I hired 4 or 5 in my time there, and we typically had even a smaller committee than this, which I think this is a good committee, but I don't know that a parent would really, I don't know, have you had that?
No, I haven't seen that either here or other districts, no, actually I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, on my search committee, I had 17 people, so,
Which is-
all internal, though. I mean, it was all internal, it was all administrators, and Carol White was the last one standing from that committee, so.
Was it before the Model T or after?
It was before dinosaurs.
And we are trying to get, right now, we don't have a ton of candidates, but we have a solid number to interview, viable number, and I think if we could get it started the week of, what do we say,
Not next week, but
week of the
the-
6th, yeah. And try to see if we can do at least one night and see what we come up with, and then, and at that point, the committee would then make a recommendation to me to do a follow-up interview, and then we present, hopefully, a finalist to the committee.
I think it's a power night too, where we're meeting likely for an hour or so to go over questions, how we're going to approach all of this, kind of the rules of it, because sometimes people are not professional HR people. For interviews, we want to make sure everybody's on board with what the plan is, and then back-to-back interviews with maybe a quick break in between. So we're talking about more of like a 4.5 to 5 hour power session one night, hopefully.
Okay. But are we figuring that we'd be doing this over a course of, when are we, have we already advertised the position?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, and how many applications have we received?
I think there's 5 right now.
Okay.
It's open through May 1st.
Okay, so we would start looking after that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would also suggest that Keith, of course, but I think because his team is going to work so closely with the new person in, I think he has, how many do you have? 3?
That was what Dr. Kuska was suggesting, is that one of his,
So why not all
Yep.
3? I mean,
why all 3?
yeah.
Why not all 3?
Why not all 3?
Why not all 3?
I don't think they would want to do that. I mean, I have obviously a lot of people in my
You mean hiring
organization,
your
whether it
boss?
be, my food service director, my maintenance director. I mean,
There's other roles, too,
there's,
but I just, yeah.
the 3 people in my office, I think, we may be lucky to get one to participate. Just there's a lot of time involved, and, at some level, I mean, they kind of have to work for whomever shows up, so.
So I would like to try to reach out tomorrow and try to reach out for a teacher volunteer if we can get two school committee members tonight, I'll reach out. I did already ask the Director of Technology and Student Services Director if they would be able to. I think one principal said they could so far. I'd have to double check my emails. So I'd be reaching out to Keith's team tomorrow and ask the same because we really need to get the dates rolling. It's possible, Dawn, we could do usually we do a confidentiality discussion and review. That might be able to be done by Zoom and then do the interviews in person. So you might be able to do 2 separate nights for that rather than having too much time.
Well, and if we get extra applicants who are, who were viable, then we'll
I don't know, right,
from then.
have even more. Right, because it could be,
You might have to add a second night.
people's availability, it could be as many as, it could be several hours.
Right.
yeah.
Well, we typically offer like 3 different days.
Well, it depends on the number of applicants, right?
Right,
So
Yes.
and we're,
there's a lot of competition right now, which is another reason we've had to move pretty quickly because there's, I don't know if Keith told me there were about 10 similar positions or 13. So there's a lot of competition, so we don't want to lose
So
a viable
what are the
candidate.
dates you're looking
May
at?
6th, 7th, or 8th, right? If we're looking at the week of May 6th, because we have a school committee meeting on the 9th, and I don't think anyone wants to do it on Friday night.
Yeah.
But are we looking at the 6th, 7th, and 8th? Were any of
Yes.
those dates absolutely out for you, Dr. Kuska or Keith?
I mean, I wouldn't be sitting in on it. I would just kind of help set the process up. So I don't know about you, Keith. That would be really.
Depends on Bruins games.
Well, are there any potential Bruins
And
games?
there- and there-
Well, I think I gotta win the first round first, so.
So you're not helpful.
And what's changed?
Fair. Okay, so
We'll
so
work through it.
we'll
We'll work through it.
work through it as we get once we get the final sort of
I'll
applicant
start
pool.
getting the people together and propose that maybe it's 1 to 2 of those 3 nights. We would probably want to have, if we do something the week before, we'd have to like a Zoom. If somebody did a Zoom, he would help set up a Zoom where he could go over the confidentiality and things like that.
So before we get to the school committee members, can we have a motion to sort of make this recommendation that follows Dr. Kuska's just for setting up that committee as proposed?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Now, I know Dawn and I had both expressed interest via email and then Cynthia at the meeting. Thoughts?
I do want to be part of it. I think just through the work on budget the last 2 years and the work with Keith in the negotiation sessions we've had, I'd like to be part of this. I know when it came up in terms of the Equity Steering Committee and the Coalition Against Hate and Bias, it wasn't a great time for me to add that on, but I do think right now I'm in a good place to be able to commit to this too. To the extent that I'd like to help out on this. I had some experience along with Cynthia with the superintendent search, but wasn't part of the last assistant superintendent search.
And I do finance.
You know you do finance. That's not going to change one way or the other. Okay, well, I'm not having a contest for this. I had the time available to do it. I've been on a number of search committees, so I'm familiar with the process and the vetting and the questions. Now, we have never had to hire somebody for our budget and finance before, so I would say that, Dan definitely has that background that I don't have, but neither do you, so.
And I think it's important that we have input from everyone. So things that we've thought about that, we're looking for in this candidate, it's important that everyone provide sort of that information as we go into the search committee, right? Because we'd be acting as your representative.
Why don't we just have all 3 of you?
You can't do that. That would be a subcommittee. We turn it into a subcommittee essentially, and
Can't have all
Well,
three of us.
if it's 2 people, then you've got the majority of a subcommittee.
we don't want to do 3 people. It's going to start getting into OML.
You're posting now parties of 3 as subcommittees, so I think you'd have to post it, and then it's not then it's.
It also gets unwieldy size-wise. Again, having 17 on mine, I could tell you it was unwieldy, so.
We did talk about this briefly with Andy Wall in terms of recommendations.
Oh, so it would be a
He said you need to only do 2.
No, it would only be a subcommittee if we were the ones that were establishing the.
So all 3 of you can be there.
No, I mean, 3 becomes a subcommittee. That's why we have, yeah.
Well, I think we need Dan because of the finance background, so.
And then we need a toss.
And then the two of you can arm wrestle.
Arm wrestle anybody.
I'm clearly not serious, but.
Will someone make a motion then?
No one can make that motion.
What do you need? Make a motion for what?
To appoint,
Dawn, you may take the place.
okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Cynthia.
All right, so we all
I
vote.
move to accept
Okay.
Dawn and Dan as representatives for the school committee on the search committee for the assistant superintendent of business and finance operations.
Director of
Dir-
Director of finance and operations.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. That is the last thing on our agenda for this evening. Please join us for the next entertaining, anyway, for May 2nd. We are 36 minutes early, but who's counting? So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
You gotta do the whole
To adjourn
thing.
to executive session from
session.
which we will not return to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and this is related to strategy with the HFT collective bargaining unit.
Roll call vote.
Well, I need a
Moved by Lisa.
Fine, second.
Second.
Go ahead.
roll call vote. Minnie,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
He already made the
Amanda.
motion before he started talking, so.
Dawn, Dan. Yes, we stand adjourned.